The first thing I noticed about her were her hands. Not the way they held the tray, too steady for a girl just hired. Too calm for someone carrying gin-laced French 75s past flailing limbs and sweating saxophones. And then there were her eyes. No sway in them, no music in her step. While the rest of us lived in the sway, she watched from the bank. I didn't trust her. Not yet. But God, did I want to. Harlem, 1927. The vine and velvet pulsed like a second heartbeat. One I let fill me up each night when I took the stage. Under the amber glow of Edison bulbs and the shadows of cherry wood balconies, secrets passed hands like flasks. We were a refuge for the beautiful, the broken, and the bold, especially if you were a little of all three. I was already 2 verses into Stardust Kisses when I saw her slip through the back hallway, not toward the kitchen like a waitress should, toward the office. Later, I found her near the coat room, staring too long at something small in her hands, a leather-bound ledger with a half-rubbed set of initials. I'd seen it once before, briefly, when it was tucked into the inside pocket of a courier too drunk to name which club he was headed to. I stepped up behind her. Private reading time, or are you adding a tip to your own tray? She jumped. Just a flicker, but enough. She smiled, a slow corner curling thing that tried too hard not to lie. Just dropped it, was about to return it to the office. Funny how your fingers already found the bookmarks. She gave it back. I let her. But later, when the last set finished and the tables lay bare, I slipped back into the coat room, found the ledger right where she'd said, open to a page that hadn't been dog-eared before. Numbers, routes, initials that didn't match anyone who worked here. The initials on the final page chilled me. J.M. I'd known her name since she walked in. Joe Monroe. Not on any payroll I'd signed. The next night, she was back. Bright apron, pinned curls, new lipstick shade like she was trying on parts. I watched her through the mirror as I powdered my cheeks, the stage piano tuning behind me in lazy gozandos. Let her play. Let her circle. I wanted to see how far she'd go before the mask slipped. The rooftops smelled like burnt matches and late rain. Harlem stretched below us, cigarette tips flickering like fireflies trapped in glass. I balanced on the ledge, bare feet crossed at the ankles, red dress pulled up just enough to keep the tar from staining it. "Careful," she said behind me. "You fall, I'd have to lie in my report." I turned. She handed me a flask. Her voice softened. "You always climb like that?" "Only when someone's watching." She smirked, but didn't look away. Took a sip after me, letting her lips linger on the same spot. Her jacket was too thick for summer. Something stiff under it. Badge, maybe. Or just nerves. I sang in a church once, little town in Georgia. Thought the Lord might keep me warm. What changed? The Lord stopped listening, so I sang louder. I tapped the flask against her hip. "Now you, where'd you learn to pour like that?" "Army canteen duty," she said too quickly. I let the silence fill with saxophone echoes from downstairs. Joe stiffened. "Back in a second." I watched her slip down the fire escape like she'd memorized every step, like she'd timed the glitch. When I followed, careful and quiet, I found her in Vincent's office, kneeling by the safe, old brass key in hand. She didn't hear me, but I saw her palm the real one and leave behind a duplicate. Then her eyes darted up, Saw the photo on the desk. Me and Vincent, my arm around him, his hand on my hip. She paused, blinked, took it in. Let her. That was the point. Upstairs, the music surged again, as if nothing had changed. But back at my dressing table, she hovered near the door, like she had something to say and no words to say it. Instead, she reached into her pocket and handed me an envelope. Inside, a lyric sheet, a hymn, one I hadn't sung since I was someone else. Funny choice, I said. She shook her head. It's from a case file. Witness gone missing 5 years ago. Said she used to hum it when she was scared. And now, she sings at the Vine and Velvet. My hand stilled on the paper. She already knew. She didn't knock, just closed the door behind her like she'd lived there all her life. You could have told me, Joe said. I sat at the vanity wiping rouge from my cheek with a silk handkerchief. Told you what? That I changed my name to keep breathing? That the woman in your file folder didn't want to be found? You helped her disappear. No, I met her eyes in the mirror. I became her. She didn't speak for a long beat. Then, why? I turned to face her. Because Vincent needed a voice to keep the club above suspicion, and she needed out. I was the closest thing to invisible. She stepped closer. Then why stay when you're marked in that ledger? I didn't know I was, until you copied it. That hit her. I watched her flinch. And now, I asked. There's a raid tonight, not just the club. Everyone. Musicians, kitchen staff. Your bandleader's brother runs a distro point. It's all wired. I stood. You came here to warn me? No, she said. I came to ask for your help. She unfolded a page, one I hadn't seen before, not from the ledger. Recognize this signature? She asked. I did. It belonged to one of her informants. He'd been faking shipments, padding evidence, framing us, both. They're building a case on ghosts, and it'll stick. How long until the raid? She checked her watch. 90 minutes. I didn't think, just grabbed my coat. We scaled the back wall and crossed rooftops like a duet with no notes, just instinct. Wind whipped at my scarf. She led, I followed. She slipped once, caught herself, then me. Our breath fogged between us in rhythm with the sirens, far off, closing in. The relay station was a shack over a bakery. Her handlers sat inside, with headphones and a pad. Joe burst in, breathless. Delay the raid, there's false evidence. He shook his head. Too late. Then jammed the signal, she snapped. Buy us 10 minutes. A pause, then he nodded. Outside, we stood in the amber streetlight, hands still touching. She looked at me like I was something fragile. I hated it, but I didn't let go. I wore red. Not the kind of red that asks, the kind that answers. A silk halter gown with a single rose at the shoulder. It had belonged to her, the real girl from Joe's file. She'd left it behind like a challenge or a dare. The club was packed, tension tight as cello strings. Patrons unaware that half the room had ears under their coats and fingers near triggers. I stepped up to the microphone. Joe hovered just beyond the spotlight, watching. She hadn't stopped since that first night. The band struck up something slow. I opened with the verse most wouldn't notice, but some did. Names, locations slipped inside the melody, hidden in vowels, hummed into chords. By the second chorus, the right people were shifting uneasily in their seats. I caught Vincent's eye in the balcony. He nodded, just once. He'd played his part too. Even that photo, the one Joe saw, he let me frame it, let the world assume I was his girl. Because if they watched me, they wouldn't see him. A final note stretched, held, then sirens. I turned to go. But Jo stepped forward, eyes wide. No. She took my hand, turned to the nearest badge in the room and said, "She's a witness. She's testifying. And you?" She reached into her coat, pulled her badge, set it on the table. "Not tonight." Whispers rippled. The band played on. Chaos paused, confused. Jo squeezed my hand. "It's your voice that kept this place safe. It's mine that's gonna prove it." We stood there, side by side, as the agents closed in, but not on us. Outside, the midnight rain began. Inside, I smiled. Because for once, being seen wasn't the danger. It was the point.